The walls of the hospital gleamed white like polished ivory, but that night they felt like the cold walls of a prison. Zanaya Williams lay on the hospital bed, sweat plastering her curly hair to her forehead, her breathing heavy after hours of labor. She had held onto one hope through all the pain, the sound of her baby's first cry. But silence filled the room. The doctor, Han Minkyung, stood at the edge of the bed, his face unreadable as he exchanged quick, sharp glances with the nurses. His gloved hands moved mechanically, as though rehearsed. Finally, he pulled down his mask and cleared his throat. "I am sorry, Miss Williams," he said flatly. "The baby did not survive." The words hit Zanaya like a hammer. She blinked rapidly, her chest tightening as her heart pounded against her ribs. "What? No, that's impossible," she gasped, struggling to push herself up on the bed. I felt her kicking. I heard her heartbeat. "Where is she? Where's my baby?" The nurses avoided her eyes, shifting uneasily. One young nurse, Yujia, bit her lip and kept her head lowered as though she couldn't bear to watch. Zanaya's tears spilled over, her voice breaking. "Give me my child." Dr. Han sighed heavily, already turning his back. "Please calm yourself. You must accept this. These things happen." "Things happen?" Zanaya screamed, her voice cracking through the sterile air. "You're telling me my baby just died? Like that?" Silence. Cold silence. The kind that carried 1,000 secrets. Her chest rose and fell violently. She had no family here, no friend to call. Only one person she trusted, the man she thought was just a stylish, kind-hearted model who always made her feel safe. For months, he had cared for her, provided for her, hidden her away from trouble. She remembered his gentle smile when she told him she was pregnant, the way he insisted she stop working at the cafe because he wanted nothing to harm their baby. And now this? With shaking fingers, Zanaya snatched her phone from the bedside drawer and dialed his number. It rang only once. "Zanaya," his deep voice, smooth but commanding, answered immediately. Her sobs tumbled out before she could form words. They took her from me. They said she's dead. My baby. She's gone." The line went silent for a breath. Then came the voice she had never heard in this tone before. Cold, sharp, dangerous. "Where are you exactly?" The hospital, sole private. "I'm coming. Stay where you are." The call ended. Zanaya's body trembled. For the first time since she had met Kang Jun-soo, she was afraid. There was something in his voice, something dark and commanding, that made the air around her heavy. Minutes later, the automatic doors of the hospital burst open. The sound of heavy boots echoed through the hallways. Everyone turned, and whispers spread like wildfire. "It's him. No, why is he here? God help us." Kang Jun-soo entered like a storm dressed in fire. His tall frame towered in a blood-red shirt unbuttoned at the chest, tattoos crawling across his neck and arms like serpents. His sharp jaw was clenched, his eyes blazing with fury that could freeze the bravest man. No bodyguards, no entourage, just him. And yet, his presence alone made grown men step aside. The hospital staff froze. Some nurses trembled. Others lowered their heads in fear. Dr. Han's face went pale as chalk. "Where is she?" Jun-soo's voice was low, but it carried like thunder. A nurse pointed weakly toward the ward. He marched straight in, the weight of his boots striking the floor like gunfire. Zanaya's eyes widened as he entered her room. He wasn't the stylish model she knew. He was something else, something terrifying. "Jae Jun-soo," she whispered, fear and relief crashing in her chest. He went straight to her side, cupping her face gently, his touch surprisingly soft for a man who looked like death itself. "I'm here. Tell me everything." They said my baby is dead," she sobbed, clutching his shirt desperately. "But I know they're lying. I can feel it. Please, Jun-soo, do something." His jaw tightened. He turned slowly, his eyes locking on Dr. Han, who had dared to follow into the room. "You," his voice cut like a blade. "You told her the baby died?" Dr. Han stammered, sweat glistening on his forehead. "Why, yes. Unfortunate complications. It happens. Do you take me for a fool?" Junsu barked, his voice rising like an explosion. The windows seemed to tremble. I know a lie when I hear one. The young nurse Yujia gasped softly, her trembling hands clutching the clipboard. Her eyes darted to Zanaya, then to Junsu, as though begging for permission to speak. But Dr. Han cut her off with a sharp glare. Silence, nurse. Junsu stepped closer, his face inches from the doctor's. If you value your life, you will bring me the truth. Now. The room was silent except for Zanaya's sobs. Nurses shifted uneasily. Security guards stood frozen at the door, none daring to move. Everyone knew this man. The stories of his ruthlessness were whispered across the city like ghost tales. Finally, Yujia cracked. Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered, The baby was alive. Zanaya's heart stopped. What? Dr. Han roared. Enough! But Junsu's fist slammed into the doctor's desk with such force that the wood splintered. Say it again, he commanded the nurse, his voice deadly calm. Her lips quivered. The baby was alive when she was delivered. But she was taken. Zanaya's scream pierced the room. No, my baby. She fell into Junsu's arms, shaking uncontrollably. His eyes turned to steel. He lifted her chin, forcing her to meet his gaze. I swear to you, Zanaya, he growled, his voice vibrating with rage. I will bring our daughter back. Whoever touched her, whoever thinks they can keep her, they will burn. And in that moment, as she looked into his blazing eyes, Zanaya realized with horror that the man she loved was not just a stylish model. He was the deadliest mafia leader in Korea, and he was about to turn the entire city upside down. The echo of Zanaya's scream still lingered in the cold air of the hospital room. Her tears soaked into Kang Junsu's crimson shirt, her hands clutching him as though he were the only thing keeping her from collapsing completely. Her baby was alive. Alive. The words rang in her head over and over, fighting with the brutal image of Dr. Han's flat voice declaring her daughter dead. Her chest heaved violently, her sobs raw. Shoo, Junsu whispered, stroking her trembling shoulders, but his own eyes were burning with fire. He turned his gaze slowly back to the trembling nurse, Yujia, who had dared to speak the truth. Tell me everything, he commanded, his voice deep, dark, controlled. The voice of a man who built an empire on fear. The young nurse shook her head rapidly, tears slipping down her cheeks. I can't. They'll kill me. Junsu's tone cut her like a blade. If you don't speak, I'll kill you myself. Zanaya gasped, her hand gripping his wrist. Junsu, please. For a moment, the terrifying mask cracked. He turned to her, his eyes softening just enough to reassure her. I don't want to scare you, Zanaya, but they're playing with us, with you, and I will not let this stand. His hand left her face and returned to steel as he glared at the nurse again. Now talk. Yujia's lips trembled. She glanced at Dr. Han, who stood stiff as stone, his face red with fury and fear. The baby, she whispered, barely audible. The baby was breathing, crying. She was healthy. But the doctor, Dr. Han slammed his fist against the wall. Enough! His voice cracked with desperation. You foolish girl. Do you know what you're doing? Junsu moved faster than anyone could blink. He grabbed the doctor by the collar and slammed him against the glass cabinet, the sharp crack of impact rattling the room. Glass trembled but didn't break. Dr. Han's eyes bulged with terror as Junsu's tattooed hand tightened around his throat. You sold my child, didn't you? Junsu snarled. You dare to touch what's mine? The entire ward went deathly silent. The nurses froze, wide-eyed. Security guards outside the door shifted uncomfortably, whispering about calling the police, but not one dared to step forward. Zanaya's nails dug into her palms. She had never seen this side of him before. The man she'd laughed with at her cafe, the man who'd brought her roses and bent his head shyly when she teased him, was gone. In his place stood a monster she suddenly realized everyone feared. But wasn't this monster also fighting for her baby? Her throat tightened. She didn't know whether to cling to him or run. Dr. Han choked, his voice strangled. It wasn't me. It wasn't my idea. Then whose? Junsu demanded, pressing him harder into the glass. Yujia's voice broke the silence. It was CEO Park Dong-wook. The name dropped like a bomb. Zanaya blinked. Who? Junsu's lips curled into a bitter sneer. Of course. Yujia clasped her shaking hands together. CEO Park came weeks ago. He paid heavily. He wanted a child. He made a deal with Dr. Han. Any baby delivered here, strong and healthy, would be transferred to him. Tonight, it was yours. Zanaya's world spun. She pressed her hand to her stomach, as though trying to hold on to what she'd lost. So they gave my daughter to another man? Just because he had money? Yujia nodded, sobbing openly now. I tried to stop it. I swear I did. But no one listens to a nurse. I'm so sorry. Zanaya's scream tore through the air again, raw and filled with fury. She pounded the mattress with her fists, her whole body shaking. My baby. My baby. You gave my baby away like she was nothing. Junsu released Dr. Han just long enough to slam his fist into the cabinet, shattering glass across the floor. The doctor collapsed, coughing and clutching his throat, his face twisted with terror. Park Dong-wook, Junsu muttered, his voice like distant thunder. That rat thinks he can buy my blood? He turned to Zanaya, kneeling by her side, his hand gently wiping her tears. His voice dropped to a whisper, almost pleading. Trust me, I will bring her back. But Zanaya shoved his hand away. Her eyes, swollen with tears, burned with betrayal. Trust you? Her voice shook. How can I trust you when you've been lying to me from the start? You said you were a model, Junsu. A model. And now I find out you're some kind of monster that even doctors fear. Her words cut deep. For the first time, his face faltered. Zanaya, you let me believe I was safe with you, she cried, her voice breaking. But you're dangerous. Look at you. Look at how they all tremble. Who are you really? Silence filled the room. The nurses shifted uncomfortably. Dr. Han whimpered on the floor, and Yujia wept quietly. Finally, Junsu spoke, his voice low, each word deliberate. I am Kang Junsu, leader of the Black Serpents, the man this city fears. He leaned closer, his eyes dark but softening only for her. But to you, Zanaya, I am just a man who loves you, and a father who will tear this world apart to bring our daughter home. Her tears blurred her vision. She wanted to hate him for lying. She wanted to curse him for dragging her into a nightmare she hadn't asked for. But deep down, a small voice whispered, he's fighting for you, for your baby. Dr. Han tried to crawl toward the door, but Junsu's boot landed on his hand, pinning him to the floor. You will set up a meeting, Junsu growled, with Park Dong-wook. Tomorrow night. If you don't, I'll make sure the only thing they find of you is ashes. Dr. Han whimpered, nodding furiously. Zanaya sat frozen on the bed, her arms wrapped around herself. Her heart was torn in two. One half longed to believe in the man who had shown her kindness, who had bought her flowers and kissed her forehead. The other half saw the ruthless mafia boss who could kill without blinking. Which one was real? She looked at him through tears. If you truly love me, Junsu, bring my baby back. Only then will I believe you. Junsu turned his head, his profile sharp under the cold hospital light. His voice was ice and fire as he answered. By tomorrow night, Zanaya, she will be back in your arms. I swear it on my life. The night outside the hospital was heavy, the kind of night where the air itself seemed to hold its breath. Seoul's neon lights glowed in the distance, but inside Zanaya's heart, everything was darkness. She sat alone in the hospital room after Junsu left to handle things, staring at the empty space in her arms where her baby should have been. Her mind ran in circles. He lied to me. All this time, he lied. Yet every time she tried to harden her heart, she remembered the way his eyes softened when he touched her cheek, the way his voice shook when he swore to bring their daughter back. Zanaya Williams, she whispered her own name bitterly. What have you gotten yourself into? Down the hallway, whispers and rumors had already spread. Nurses exchanged nervous glances. Security guards spoke in hushed tones. Everyone was talking about the Black Serpent Mafia boss storming their hospital, and the black woman he had come for. Some pitied her, some judged her, but no one dared speak to her directly. Meanwhile, Kang Junsu's world moved like a machine of war. His black luxury car roared down the empty streets, his driver silent, his phone buzzing with updates. He leaned back in the leather seat, his tattooed fingers tapping against the armrest, his jaw tight with fury. "Boss," one of his lieutenants said over the line, "we checked with our sources. Park Dong-wook has been trying to buy children secretly for months. His wife can't have kids, and his pride won't let him adopt through legal means. He paid the hospital a fortune. He thinks this child is untouchable now." Junsu's lips curled into a deadly smile. "Untouchable." His voice dripped with venom. "We'll see." The lieutenant hesitated before adding, "But boss, he has government friends. If we move too openly, it could bring heat down on all of us." "Do I look like a man who fears the government?" Junsu snapped. The line went dead. He pulled out a cigar, lit it with steady hands, and exhaled a slow stream of smoke. His mind wasn't on politics. It was on Zanaya's tear-streaked face, her broken voice screaming, "My baby!" No one dared steal from him, and no one dared make Zanaya cry. Back at the hospital, Zanaya couldn't sit still. She wandered into the hallway, ignoring the way people stared at her. She wanted answers, clarity, something to hold on to. She cornered Nurse Yujia, the only person who seemed to have a conscience. "Tell me more," Zanaya pleaded, gripping her hand tightly. "Where did they take her? Do you know where my baby is now?" Yujia's eyes darted nervously. I shouldn't say. If anyone finds out I spoke, I'll lose my job, or worse." Zanaya's voice cracked. "Please, I'm her mother. I carried her for 9 months. She is mine. If you have even a little bit of humanity, help me." The nurse's lips trembled. She leaned in close, her whisper almost inaudible. "They took her to Park Dong-wook's private residence on the hill. The baby is there, guarded." Zanaya's knees nearly buckled. Her baby was alive, so close yet so far. "Thank you," she whispered, squeezing the nurse's hands. "Don't thank me," Yujia said, tears brimming in her eyes. "Pray we're not both dead by tomorrow." Hours later, Junsu sat in a dimly lit underground bar, the kind of place where shadows had names and every patron carried a weapon. His men gathered around him, reports in hand, maps of Seoul spread across the table. "Park Dong-wook has tightened security around his mansion," one of them said. "No one goes in or out without clearance. He's hired ex-military bodyguards. And..." He hesitated. "The baby has been registered under Park's wife's name. Legally, it will look like she gave birth." Junsu's fist slammed onto the table, rattling glasses. "Paperwork means nothing to me. That's my blood." His men nodded, fear and loyalty mingling in their eyes. They knew their boss would destroy half the city if it meant reclaiming his child. But Junsu's mind wasn't only on war. It was on Zanaya. He remembered the way she shoved him away, the bitterness in her voice. "How can I trust you when you've been lying to me from the start?" For the first time in years, Kang Junsu felt something strange. Doubt. Would she ever forgive him? Would she still want him once she knew the full extent of his darkness? He shook the thought off. First the baby. Then he would beg for Zanaya's forgiveness if he had to crawl. At dawn, Zanaya left the hospital against orders. She couldn't bear the white walls, the whispers, the cold stares. She returned briefly to her small apartment, sitting in the corner of her bed, clutching a tiny blanket she had prepared for her baby. She pressed it to her face, inhaling the scent of fabric softener, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her phone buzzed. It was Junsu. "Stay inside," his voice commanded. "Don't step out until I come for you. Park Dong-wook is dangerous." Zanaya's jaw tightened. "And you're not? You terrify me, Junsu. Do you know that?" Silence. Then softer, "Yes, but you still love me." Her heart twisted. She hated that he was right. She ended the call without replying. That evening, Junsu's black car pulled up outside Park Dong-wook's mansion gates. He didn't storm in, not yet. He watched from a distance, eyes narrowed as guards patrolled. From inside, he could hear faint crying. A baby's cry. His blood boiled. That was his daughter. He clenched his fists, the serpent tattoos on his arms twisting with emotion. Tomorrow night, Dr. Han would arrange the meeting. Tomorrow night, he would walk into the lion's den. But tonight, he stood in the shadows, whispering a vow only the moon could hear. Zanaya, my love, our child will not grow up in another man's arms. She is ours. And by the time the sun sets tomorrow, she will be back where she belongs. The morning sun spilled over Seoul, painting the city gold. But to Zanaya, the world remained cold and hollow. She sat by her apartment window, clutching the baby blanket against her chest, staring at nothing. Cars passed. Neighbors went about their lives, but inside her heart was chaos. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard her baby's cry echoing in the distance. That faint wail she thought she had imagined outside Park Dong-wook's mansion. The sound haunted her, ripping her apart from the inside. Her phone buzzed. It was a news notification. Business mogul Park Dong-wook and wife welcome baby girl after years of struggle. Zanaya's hands trembled. Her baby's face flashed on the screen, wrapped in silk, cradled in the arms of another woman. They had even given her a new name, Park Ji-yeon. No! Zanaya whispered, her voice breaking. That's my child. That's my daughter. Her vision blurred with tears. The world believed Park's lies, and she was powerless to scream the truth. At the same hour, in his glass-walled office at the top of a skyscraper, Park Dong-wook leaned back in his leather chair, swirling whiskey in a crystal glass. He smirked at the newspaper spread across his desk. Finally, he said to himself, the world respects me as more than just a businessman. I'm a father now. His wife, elegant in a silk dress, stood behind him. She's perfect, Dong-wook. No one will ever know. Dong-wook's smirk widened. Not even Kang Jun-soo. But even as he said it, unease flickered in his eyes. He knew Jun-soo was dangerous. The kind of man who didn't just make threats, he fulfilled them. Still, Park had money, influence, politicians in his pocket. He believed he could outmaneuver a gangster, or so he thought. That afternoon, Jun-soo summoned his top lieutenants to his private villa. The atmosphere was heavy, the men tense as they watched their boss pace the room, smoke curling from the cigar in his hand. Park Dong-wook wants to play family man? Jun-soo's voice was calm, almost too calm. Then let's see how he plays when his empire burns. One of his men stepped forward cautiously. Boss, he's powerful. He has judges, police commissioners. Even some of our informants fear him. Fear. Jun-soo turned sharply, his eyes flashing. I am fear. The room fell silent. Everyone knew he meant it. He spread a map of Seoul across the table, tapping Park's mansion with a sharp finger. Tomorrow night, he's holding a celebration banquet. He'll parade my child in front of politicians and tycoons. That's when we strike. His men exchanged looks. A banquet meant high-risk cameras, guards, the public eye, but it also meant Park would be distracted. Jun-soo lit another cigar and leaned back, his serpent tattoo flexing as he exhaled smoke. We don't need to storm the gates. We'll walk in as honored guests, and we'll walk out with what's mine. While Jun-soo plotted, Zanaya wrestled with her own storm. She couldn't sit still, couldn't wait idly while men decided the fate of her baby. She marched to the villa, her heart pounding, and forced her way past the guards. When Jun-soo saw her, his mask of control cracked. Zanaya, he breathed, standing quickly. She glared at him, her eyes blazing with pain. You think I'll just sit quietly while you fight your mafia wars? That's my daughter. If you're going after her, then I'm coming too. Jun-soo's jaw tightened. It's too dangerous. Park will use you against me. Too dangerous? Zanaya stepped closer, her voice trembling but firm. I already lost my child. Do you think anything else scares me? The room was silent. His men shifted uncomfortably, knowing no one had ever spoken to their boss like that. Finally, Jun-soo sighed and reached out, his hand brushing her cheek gently. You're stubborn. Just like me. Zanaya's eyes softened for a moment, but then she pulled away. This isn't about us. It's about her. Don't forget that. Jun-soo nodded. Then tomorrow we take back our family. The night of the banquet arrived. Park Dong-wook's mansion glittered with golden lights, luxury cars lining the driveway. Politicians, business tycoons, celebrities. The city's elite gathered, sipping champagne and congratulating Park and his wife. Inside, the baby lay in a golden crib, guarded by two men in black suits. She cried softly, her tiny fists waving, but no one paid attention except a few curious guests who cooed over her beauty. She looks just like Dong-wook, someone lied. Such a blessing, another added. Dong-wook basked in their admiration, his smug smile never fading. But outside the gates, another storm was brewing. A line of black cars pulled up silently. Men in tailored suits stepped out, their presence commanding fear even before their faces were seen. At the front, Kang Jun-soo straightened his red collar shirt, his serpent tattoo peeking out as he lit a cigar. Beside him, Zanaya emerged in a simple black dress, her natural beauty glowing even under the night's tension. Her heart pounded, but her eyes were fierce. Jun-soo offered his arm. She hesitated, then linked hers with his. Together, they walked up the golden steps, every eye turning toward them. Gasps filled the air. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Isn't that Kang Jun-soo, the mafia boss? And who's that woman with him? Inside the grand hall, Park Dong-wook's smirk faltered when he saw them. His wife stiffened, clutching her champagne glass. Jun-soo smiled coldly. Congratulations on the baby, Dong-wook. Mind if we join the celebration? Zanaya's eyes darted to the golden crib across the room. Her breath caught. There she was. Her baby. Their baby. Her knees nearly buckled, but Jun-soo's firm hand steadied her. The war had just stepped into the lion's den, and everyone knew only one man would walk out victorious. The hall glittered with crystal chandeliers, golden wine glasses, and the laughter of Seoul's most powerful men and women. But beneath the music and champagne, tension buzzed like electricity. Every pair of eyes shifted between Park Dong-wook, the host, and Kang Jun-soo, the uninvited storm that had walked into his mansion. Zanaya's nails dug into her palm as she clung to Jun-soo's arm, her gaze fixed on the golden crib across the room. Her baby lay inside, wrapped in silk, tiny chest rising and falling. Alive, breathing, hers. Tears pricked her eyes, but fury boiled beneath them. Fury at the doctors who had lied. Fury at Park Dong-wook for daring to parade her child like a trophy. And most of all, fury at the man beside her. The man she had loved, trusted, and kissed under the moonlight, only to discover he wasn't the model she thought, but the deadliest mafia lord in Korea. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run to her child. But she also wanted to slap Jun-soo until his mask of arrogance shattered. Jun-soo, Park Dong-wook said finally, raising his glass with a smirk. I didn't know you cared for family gatherings. Or are you here to ruin mine? Laughter bubbled from the crowd, thin and nervous. They were trying to read the room, but nobody dared speak too loudly. Jun-soo didn't flinch. He blew out a puff of cigar smoke, his serpent tattoo curling against his neck like a warning. I came to congratulate you, Park. You finally have something money can't buy. Or maybe money did buy it. The guests froze. A murmur swept across the room. Park's smirk wavered. Zanaya's heart thudded. This was it. The moment the lies would crack. She stepped forward suddenly, her voice shaking the silence. That's not your baby, Park Dong-wook. That's my daughter. Gasps exploded through the hall. Heads turned. Champagne glasses clinked onto tables as whispers spread like wildfire. Park's wife stiffened, clutching her pearls. Park himself paled for a moment before regaining his composure. He chuckled coldly. Your daughter? My dear woman, are you drunk? Zanaya's chest heaved as she pointed a trembling finger at the crib. I carried her for 9 months. I felt her kick, her heartbeat. She was stolen from me at that hospital. You bought her, didn't you? The hall erupted into chaos. Some guests gasped in shock. Others whispered, hungry for scandal. Phones were pulled discreetly from pockets, cameras flashing, knowing this drama was worth millions in gossip. Park's face twisted with rage. He slammed his glass down, shattering it against the table. Enough! His voice boomed. Security. Remove this woman at once. Guards in black suits moved quickly, but before they could touch Zanaya, Junsu stepped in front of her, his aura sharp and lethal. Touch her, Junsu growled, his voice low and deadly. And I'll bury this mansion with everyone inside it. The guards froze. Everyone knew Kang Junsu didn't bluff. But Zanaya wasn't relieved. She rounded on Junsu, her anger spilling over at last. You! She hissed, tears streaming down her face. All this time, you lied to me. You let me believe you were just a kind man. A model who ate at my cafe because he liked my food. But you! She jabbed her finger at his chest. You're a killer. A mafia boss. The whole time, you kept me in the dark. The room fell silent, every ear straining to hear her words. Even Park paused, momentarily forgotten in the storm of Zanaya's rage. Junsu's jaw tightened. His eyes, usually so cold, flickered with something softer. Guilt. Zanaya! No! She cut him off, voice breaking. You say you love me, but you never trusted me with the truth. Do you know how it feels to find out like this? To stand in a hall full of strangers and realize the man I trusted with my heart has been lying since day one. Her chest heaved. I don't even know who you are anymore. Junsu's hand twitched, as if he wanted to touch her, but she stepped back. The distance between them burned hotter than any bullet. For the first time in years, Kang Junsu looked vulnerable. Park Dongwook saw his chance. He straightened, sneering. See? Even she doesn't want you, Junsu. A ruthless dog like you doesn't deserve family. You think you can steal what's mine? She'd rather spit on you than stand by you. Zanaya turned sharply to Park, her fury shifting. Don't you dare speak about me like I'm yours to use. Her voice cracked like thunder. I may be angry at him, but you... She pointed toward the crib, her voice trembling with rage. You're nothing but a thief, a coward who paid to rip a baby from her mother's arms. The hall roared with gasps again. Park's wife staggered, pale. Park himself flushed deep red, veins bulging at his temple. You'll regret those words, he snarled. No, Dongwook. Junsu cut in, his voice calm but laced with venom. He stepped closer, towering over his rival. The only one who'll regret anything tonight is you. The two men stood inches apart, power crackling in the air like a storm about to break. Zanaya, trembling but unyielding, stood between them. For the first time, she wasn't just Junsu's secret or Park's victim. She was a mother, a fighter, and she would not be silenced. Tomorrow, Junsu said finally, his voice low but carrying across the hall. Your world ends, Park. Enjoy your party. It's your last. He took Zanaya's hand firmly, ignoring her resistance, and led her out. The hall erupted into whispers, the cameras still flashing, capturing the beginning of a war. Zanaya yanked her hand from his as soon as they reached the car. Her chest rose and fell, fury spilling through her veins. You want to fight him, Junsu? Fine. But know this. I'm not fighting for your pride, your mafia empire, or your blood-soaked name. I'm fighting for my child. And if you ever lie to me again, I swear I'll walk away with her and you'll never see us again. Her voice was final, sharp as a blade. Junsu's heart clenched. For the first time in his ruthless life, he realized, losing her scared him more than losing any war. He turned his face away, hiding the storm in his eyes, and lit another cigar. Then tomorrow, he said quietly, we take her back, together. The night was restless. Thick clouds rolled over the moon, drowning the city in a heavy darkness. On the edge of Seoul, the rival CEO's mansion rose like a fortress. Tall iron gates, armed guards at every corner, and golden lights glowing proudly against the night. But tonight that pride would fall. The ground trembled as a convoy of sleek black cars roared up the mountain road. Engines snarled like wild beasts, headlights slicing through the shadows. At the very front, Junsu sat in silence, his sharp jaw clenched, his tattoos crawling under his red silk shirt like flames alive. His eyes, cold and unyielding, burned with one truth. No one steals from me. Beside him, Zanaya clutched her chest. She had cried so much her tears had dried, leaving behind fire and determination. Her body trembled, but her spirit was iron. She wasn't just a grieving mother anymore. She was a lioness ready to fight for her cub. The cars screeched to a halt before the massive gates. Within seconds, Junsu's men spilled out, armed and ready. The mansion guards shouted in panic, scrambling for their rifles. The air thickened, heavy with the scent of war. Junsu stepped out, the gravel crunching under his boots. He didn't hide behind his men. He walked in front, broad-shouldered, fearless, the kind of man whose presence could silence a crowd. His red shirt rippled in the night breeze, his tattoos etched into the dim glow of the floodlights. He turned slightly, his deep voice rumbling. "Stay behind me, Zanaya." But Zanaya, in her simple dress and bare courage, lifted her chin. Her eyes gleamed with fire. "No, I walk in with you. She's my child too." For a heartbeat, silence hung between them. Then, for the first time in this war, Junsu's lips twitched into the faintest nod. "Then we fight together." With one signal, his men blasted the gates open. The screech of twisted metal split the night as guards opened fire. Bullets hissed through the air, sparks flying off the iron gate. Junsu's men returned fire instantly. Chaos erupted. Smoke, gunfire, shouts, the heavy pounding of boots against marble floors. But Junsu was unstoppable. He moved through the battlefield like a phantom, his every shot precise, his movements fluid. Years of blood and ruthlessness had shaped him into the deadliest force alive. Yet tonight, his rage was fueled not by business, not by pride, but by fatherhood. Zanaya stayed close, shielded by his men, but her eyes never left the mansion doors. Somewhere inside, her baby was crying. She could feel it in her bones. Finally, after breaking through the layers of guards, they burst into the grand hall. The chandeliers sparkled mockingly above, their golden glow clashing with the stench of smoke and gunpowder. And there, at the top of the grand staircase, stood Chairman Kong. His expensive black suit was spotless, his gray hair slicked back with arrogance. In his arms, wrapped in a white bundle, was the baby. Zanaya's baby. Her knees almost gave way. She clutched the stair rail, her breath catching as the soft whimper of a newborn reached her ears. Chairman Kong sneered. "You've lost your mind, Junsu. Barging into my home with guns like a thug. That child is mine now. Bought fair and square. My heir. My bloodline." Zanaya's heart exploded with rage. She pushed past Junsu before he could stop her, her voice rising above the chaos. "She's not yours. She's mine." The hall froze. Even Kang's guards hesitated, caught off guard by the power in her cry. Zanaya climbed the steps slowly, her trembling hands clenched into fists. Her voice cracked but grew stronger with each word. "You can buy companies. You can buy men. But you cannot buy motherhood. That baby in your arms. I carried her. I bled for her. I dreamed of her every night. And nothing in this world will keep me from holding her again." Her words cut through the arrogance like a blade. Some of Kang's men shifted uncomfortably, lowering their weapons. Even the maid beside him trembled, her eyes flickering with guilt. Junsu stepped forward, his gun raised, his voice low and deadly. "Kong, this ends now. Hand her over, or your empire dies with you." For the first time, Chairman Kang's smile faltered, his pride warred with fear. He looked at the ruthless man below him, then at the fire in Zanaya's eyes. The hall grew suffocating with silence. Finally, his voice cracked. "Give it to her." The maid hesitated, then stepped forward. Slowly, trembling, she placed the baby into Zanaya's arms. The moment Zanaya felt the soft warmth of her daughter against her chest, her knees buckled. Tears poured freely as she pressed her lips against the baby's tiny forehead. "My baby! My sweet, sweet baby." Her cries filled the hall, raw and heartbreaking, yet filled with relief. Junsu lowered his gun, his eyes locked on Zanaya. For years, he had been defined by power, money, and violence. But in that single moment, seeing Zanaya clutch their daughter, he felt something he never thought possible: peace. Zanaya looked up at him through her tears. You lied to me, Junsu. You made me believe you were a model. You broke my trust. Her voice wavered, but her eyes were firm. But tonight, you gave me back everything I thought I had lost. I forgive you. Junsu's throat tightened. The ruthless mafia boss, feared by all, was speechless before the woman who now held both his heart and his child. But, Zanaya added, her voice sharp as steel, never lie to me again. If we are to raise this child together, I want the truth. Always. Junsu lowered his gaze, then slowly nodded. For once, not as a boss, not as a king, but as a man. I swear. The hall, once filled with bullets and screams, now echoed with the soft cries of a newborn. Kang's men dropped their weapons in surrender, realizing the war was lost. Junsu stepped closer, laying his hand gently over the baby's tiny head. His tattoos, once marks of fear, now looked like shields of protection. The ruthless mafia leader had been conquered, not by guns, not by enemies, but by love and fatherhood. For the first time in his dark life, Junsu smiled, and under the golden light of the chandeliers, a new chapter began. Not of crime, but of family.
Hello besties, in this story we learned that love, honesty and family are stronger than power, lies and fear. Junsu lived his whole life ruthless, arrogant and untouchable, thinking the world revolved around him, that everything could be controlled with money, violence and fear. But through Zenaya and their daughter, he learns that true strength is not in guns or power, but in protecting and cherishing the ones you love. Zenaya's courage also teaches that a woman's voice and love can stand against even the darkest forces. She demanded the truth, fought for her child and transformed a feared mafia boss into a father. Thank you so much for watching. Kindly like, subscribe and share.